Hi, this is Tweek. On today's episode of Tweaks with Tweek, I'm going to share with you another design I came up using the cluster balls. I'm going to make a beaded bluebird. Join us. Supplies you need for this project are: you will need an assortment of blue beads. My beads happen to be turquoise in color, but any color that represents a bluebird would be good. The sizes of beads I used are 4, 6, 8, and 10 millimeter glass faceted beads. You will also need a few yellow beads, a couple black beads for the eyes, 6 millimeter size there. You will need some wire. I use a 0.018 inch crafting bead wire. The tools that you'll need will be a cutting tool for the wire and a needle nose pliers to help you fix the knots. So, away we go. To make my bluebird, I had to make 2 full cluster balls. One is a size 8 millimeter bead and one is a size 10 millimeter bead. And let me talk about the beads for a second. These I got online, and they are called glass beads from Bead Landing, and they are 4, 6, 8, and 10 millimeter beads all on the same strand when you purchase it. That was really helpful because everything here is to make the bird you will need, except you will need more than just one set. So I got 2. So let's start right there. Now we're going to go to the makeup of the bird. In the past, when I've done cluster balls, I've laid out my little grid for myself. I'm going to forego that today and just lay out the number of beads I need to make the 30 bead main cluster for this bird body. If you'd like to see a link of me making other cluster balls in a little slower mode, click the link right here. So I'm going to get my beads lined up. I need 30 beads to make a full cluster, and the combination is a 5, a 4, 3 sets of 3, and a set of 2, and a set of 3, and a set of 2, 2, 2, and then 1. And that is the combination. That is the number of beads I'm going to string onto the wire. Usually when I do a cluster ball, I try to save on the wire a little bit. I use more than I need because I want to make a nice knot on it. But this time I'm going to use the excess wire on this cluster ball to make the wings on the bird. So I want a lot of it. So I'm going to go about 5 feet. We want to go here. And it's going to make the stringing a little more of a challenge, but it can be done. Uh-oh, one of them already moved. Where'd you move from? Right there. Okay, so I get my 5 beads and away I go. We string 5 beads on the right side of the wire, and we meet up the 2 ends and try to get those 5 beads as close to the center as you can, and then pull this wire through. I know it's a lot of wire to be pulling through, but when I came up with the design, I thought, well, how am I going to get the wings on there? And this just makes that easier to do. We've got 5 beads there. On the right side string or wire, we're going to add 4 beads. It's such a pretty color. Now I've got them strung on the right side. Bring the right side over and push that wire through that last bead and pull through. And you've got 2 sets of 5 beads hooked together, and I'm going to buddy up the 2 in the center there. And I'm going to keep going. Okay, so I've come to the point where I'm at the top of the cluster ball and I've skimmed around with the wire so that they both meet up in one spot. Now ordinarily I would tie that off with a knot, but this time I'm just going to take one of the wires and push it through. There we go. So instead of tying it off, now you've got the bead in the center with, on either side, all the wire I'm going to use to make the wings. This establishes where the front of the bird is, where that little hole right there, that is the front of the bird. So let's get going. We've got a spot here to make the wings. And what I'm going to do is do the top of the wing first. Okay. I'm going to do the top on each side. Then I'm going to add a couple crimp beads. Then bring out the back and attach it. So let's do that. And my formula for the top of the beads, the top of the wing, was 3 of these big guys. So we need 3 beads. This is my recipe for a wing. 3 and 3, okay? Then I had kind of winnow it down to something smaller. Let's see, 6mm beads, and those are the 8s. Are a little bit smaller. I wanted the 6mm beads on each side, and I wanted 5 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good grab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I want the little guys. I want 4 of the 4mm beads. These are the little ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm lining it up so that I can make sure this is how I want it on each. I want the wings to match. The front is not necessarily going to match the back, but I thought where the front of the bird is, there's a little more muscle, so I wanted a little bit of bigger bead there. So we've got 3, 5, and 4. Let's string them on. To keep my bearing, I keep the front towards me. Here, I put it on this side and you can see better. Okay, so here's, you can see what's happening here. That's going to be the front of the bird. That's going to be the main power where his wings are, and my representation of beads. So let's, got lots of wire here. That's good. We're next going to string on these 6mm beads. Actually, there's 4 4mm. I tell you, keeping all straight, I made a lot of different combinations of beads. I tried a lot of them to come up with a wing I liked. There's one side and the top of the wing, and I'm going to add a crimp bead. I add 2 crimp beads because that helps to bend the wing later. Let's see, I'm going to do one here first to show you. Oh my goodness, there you are. Okay, it's a tiny little crimp bead. I'm going to let that come as close as I can to the bead center there on the center of the body, and I'm going to crimp it. Pull up, push down, crimp. That part's done. Repeat on the other side. Here we go. I'm going to pull that as tight as I can down to meet that other bead there. Put a crimp bead. Let the beads meet down there. Pull up on the wire and crimp the bead. This is what you have so far. From the front, you're starting to get the idea that it is a bird. That's his front. Wings coming up. Now we're going to work on the back side of the wing. This is why I put another crimping bead, because as I put them together, it makes just a little more of a tip. I wanted more of a tip to the wing than just a bead roundness. So the back of the wing, we need 5 4mm beads on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's right, we're going backwards down to the bead, or to the wing is going backwards now. We're coming to tip and coming back down to the body. So 5 of the little 4mm. Then we need 4 of the 6mm beads. Now these are these guys again. 4 on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. And then how many of the big ones do we need? 5, 5, good. And we need 4 of the 8mm beads. So I'm not going to the 10s, I'm going to the 8s, which is just a little bit bigger than the 6s, and I'll show you. Let's get a bunch of them off here. Okay. Okay, they come at the end. We need 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm trying to not make this too complicated, but that's a combination. So this part is going to meet back down to the body. We start out little, get bigger, bigger, but we're not as big as the beads in the front. And I liked that, how that worked out. We want to put another crimping bead on each side. 2 more beads. And you just put it right next to the other bead. This is just my way of figuring out how to make this. And I'm not going to crimp it on that bead. I'm going to crimp it next to it. Okay, other side, another crimp bead. Okay, now let's continue to bead up the bottom side of the wing. So, see how we're meeting with the tip of the wing and coming back? So when you buy one of these packs of beads that come in the 4 sizes, that really comes in handy to have all 4 available to you. Now what we're going to do is, that's the front of the bird right there where my thumb is, that bead right behind. I'm going to come through that bead, come through, and your wing is attached. Now see how the 2 little crimping beads make just a tiniest little tip rather than round. I just really like that. Now we're just going to let this sit for a moment. So we're going to do the other side. Now we find that same spot as we did on the other side. There's the top of my bird. Here's the top. Wing, wing. Now we come, that bead in the center, it's like a tri-fold there, 3 beads together. Come back to the one behind, push through, see that? And your wings are attached. Now I'm going to give this a little bit of a squeeze because those 2 crimp beads will move a little bit and help make that more of a point on the bird's wing. That's what I wanted. We have our wings. How to secure the wings. I'm just going to pushed it through that bead. I'm going to follow along the front of the bird, just as you would skim around the top of the cluster ball. I'm trying to get the wire to skim through each bead. This is where you got to do a little bit of wiggling. So what I've done here is met the 2 wires up. Okay, there's the front of the bird. Now I'm going to put a knot there. I have no more use for the wire. I probably could use a little less, but I'd like to have enough to really make my joints and knots tight. Take your cutter. And what we have right now is the front of the bird with the 2 wings. Next step, let's add the head. Easy way to tell where the front is if you get disoriented a little bit. We're looking straight down. You see where the wings come, and there's 5. There's a hole there. Just come right to the front. It's a little bit up because I wanted the head to be angled a little bit up. So let's do the head. The head is another 30 bead cluster ball. These are size 8. So if you look here at the size beads we had 10s, 8s, 6s, which are a little smaller, and then the teeny little 4s. So I wanted the head to be a little bit smaller than the body, and this works out just great. So you make a cluster ball. It's going to fit right there in that front spot. But before I can attach the head, I'm going to add some eyes. And I use a little more wire than I need to add eyes. I want to use the extra wire for putting on the eyes to attach the head to the body. So here we go. We've got our little beaded ball, and I'm going to decide where I want the eyes to be. So I'm going to look straight down on the ball, and there's a hole there, and up on each side there's another hole. So that would be where I'm going to put his eyes. And I'm using a 6mm black bead here. A bead will go here, and a bead will go here, and that will give you your eyes, and then the beak will go into that center. So just keep yourself oriented. Get a piece of wire. I know where I want the eye to be. Let's use this as a demonstration. And I'm going to come down to bead. See, there's a little teeny little triangle of wire there. Think of that as like the corner of their eye. And I'm going to come to that bead behind it and go through Okay, and as you go through, you're going to add the eyeball or the eyeball bead, and it's going to rest in that little pocket right there, that little hole. And then you're going to come back through the next V. So here's what you're doing. See? You're just getting the beak, the bird eye to rest in that spot. I like the way the wire made just a little line, almost like, you know how birds have little markings around their eyes. We're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to add the next eyeball bead, and then we're going to find that space, that other V, and go into that bead. But you're just using the wire and those few bead spots to place the eyes. Right now, we want to attach this to the body. This can get tricky, but I know that is where I want to attach the head. I want it to go like that, so the eyes are in front. So what I'm going to do is use this wire and come through. There's a bead right under the wing. I'm going to get through that bead. Let me see, I'll show you. There's a triangle there, and I'm going to stick the bead wire through that bead. See how it comes out the back? Okay. Oh, don't fall on me now, birdie. That's one side. Oh, okay, where'd we go here? Getting my own self messed up here. There we go. So I got one side. Now let's repeat on the other side. You look for that bead right there between the wings and come down and go through. It's fighting me, but there it goes. See? Okay, just stick with it. And that attaches the head. See? And all I'm going to do now is use the beads around me to work our way around to the butt. And using these wires, I'm going to come around. Let's see what's the best way to get around here. As long as you're hiding the wire and keeping the bird strong with, I don't want any slack in that head. So I'm going to use these beads and just kind of the way you go around the top of the cluster ball, I'm just going to use the wire to go around. And see how nice and tight already his head is sitting there. That's good. Getting through sometimes is a little bit interesting, but you see where you came out and go to the next bead and put your wire in there. And there's plenty of room in these beads for the wire to fit through. So I'm only going through it, 3-4 times. Now we have a very cute tailless bird. Here comes the beak. The beak is next. Okay, for the beak, I tried many different combinations, but the one I liked best was an 8mm yellow bead with a 6mm yellow bead, and then I used a 2. So our bird beak is like that, 862. Okay, so get a bunch of wire. Now this wire, again, I'm probably using too much, but I want enough to work with. This beak is going to go through the body and become the tail feathers. So I want to leave myself enough to work with. Now, tail feathers can be as long as you want them to be. I want enough here to have some freedom to make them how I want. We want to put the tiniest bead on first. That goes right down to the center. Now we're going to string the other beads on with both wires. And that is my version of my bird beak. Then I'm going to take this and push it through the spot on his face, right between the eyes there, and try to get it throughout the back end. Now, sometimes, I even do this one wire at a time. Oh my gosh, I got lucky. Oh my gosh, both of them are there. All right, that doesn't usually happen. Anyways, you want to start in the front, come all the way through the bird to his back, and now you have fun making tail feathers. But what do you think so far? Look at his little face. See, isn't that the perfect little beak for this little bird? Yeah. Okay. I wanted to, how do you say it? Plug the hole in that butt there a little bit. So I'm going to use a bead. Now this is the 10mm. I wanted to use an 8 that will plug it but not really make it bulge out. So I'm just going to give a little more security to the strings coming through the body. I want them to be centered and keep that nose or that beak in place. See, so I'm just pushing that there. And now I'm going to add a crimp bead so all that stays tight. I just wanted to use as little wire as possible as far as holding the bird together. But I wanted options for how many feathers does he have on his tail, you know? So pull this really tight. Push that bead into the bottom there. Gotta push that in, hold tight, and hold down the crimp. It's going to be interesting. Push the bead in. Good. Hold tight and crimp. Now we have some security on the body. See, nothing's going anywhere. The head's secure, beak is secure, wings are secure. And now what are we going to do about the tail? Well, there's 2 strings here, 2 wires that you're going to mimic each side here. So fan this out. And then we're going to bring the wires back in and mimic again so that we get the tail feathers. You're a little bit lopsided, but I know you're doing the best you can. So here we go. We've got 8mm beads, so I'm going bigger to smaller. Where's the 8s? Okay. Let's get a bunch of 8s out here. I think I'm done with the big ones for right now. Okay. We need 5 8mm beads. Now this really can be however, I mean you could just use tiny little beads and make a little tiny beaded tail. It'd be just as pretty when it reflects. Okay, so we've got 5 and 5. I like to do it together so I make sure I'm on the right track. It looks like I did 6 6mm beads. Okay, so 6 on each side. I couldn't figure out a way to get something to go straight behind, so he's going to have loopy feathers. 15 4mm, so we need these little guys, and we need 15 of them on each side. So let's get a pile of them out. See what we got going here now? Okay, I'll count them as I go. All right. 15 tiny little tiny beads. I gotta move them so I can catch the reflection of where that hole is. It's so tiny. Okay, we've got 15 on either side. Now we're going to come back through this next to the last bead, the one right next to his bottom. We're going to take this wire on each side. We're going to come back through that bead and just pull up. Okay, 1 feather. Come just to that last bead there next to his rear and pull through. Now is when I decide, do I want more there? Because what I could do, and I think I will, is put a knot here to keep everybody happy. Then I can decide, do I want to put a 3rd feather on there? Sometimes I put one there and sometimes I don't. I think I will add 1 more to make it 3. So I'm going to disregard one of these. I made a nice knot there. I'm going to crimp that off or just clip it off. And using this last one, I'm going to follow this same pattern. Let's do that. Now I'm going to come up there again. The bead that's next to the tail, I'm going to come up there. This one I might have to get a little more creative as how I hide the tail feather in. So I'm going to pull it up. Now I'm just going to continue, and I'm going to hide that wire by pushing it through beads. There, go through there, work your way around. See if you like what you've got. Oh, that's pretty crazy, but I like it. So now I'm going to push them through another. Very good, come on. Oh, there's the wire down there again. Okay. I'm going to pull it through. Push it down really hard. Knots on itself. And for more insurance, I'm going to push it down through the body and I'm going to snap it off. Okay, I'm going to make use of some of this discarded wire I had overdone. And to make a hanger, it's real simple. I'm just going to come through right under the bird, the top there, and I'm just going to go through the 2 holes on either side and see if that's where I want the bird to hang. Because depending on where you put the hanger, the bird will be in a different position. He'll be dive bombing, he'll be taking off, coming in for a landing. And I'm just going to put a crimp. Come here, crimp bead. How long do you want this little hook to be, or this little loop? It's up to you. I'm going to go not that far. And crimp the bead. I like it. Try to make the wires cross if I can. Makes for a better connection. Okay, well, we'll try. What are you doing? You trying to dive bomb? I just had you all set. Haha, he is really coming up. So if you don't like that, just readjust it. I didn't like that. That's better. Now it's coming up under the back of his wing. See how the wire just disappears? And options. Get your wire on there, and oh, that's perfect right there. Let's snip off the excess. And he is ready. Oh, he's ready to take off. Ready to fly. See some of your other friends? They all turned out differently. And there you have it. We have made a crystal bluebird. Oh my gosh, this little bluebird. He's going to look so great hanging in a window and bringing a little spot of color. So if you like what you've seen here today, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to ring the bell so you know when another episode of Tweaks with Tweek is coming along. Until then, bluebird happiness? I don't know, but I'm happy to see the splash of color that this little guy is going to bring. See you again.